You hear me all right? I'm not very good at things like this, but I'd like to share with you how I became Christian. Slightly different story, but same end. At the beginning of I won't go into my childhood, that was a waste of time talking about that, but at the beginning of this story, I was in a teacher training college in the Midlands, because there were no teacher training colleges down here in the southwest at all. I was up in Kidderminster, and it was pretty lonely. We were out in the country, and not a lot to do, not a lot to sort of fill up our time with or anything else. But one day I was in a lecture in this college, a lecture about teaching RE to children. And one student put their hand up and they said, "How do you teach RE to children if you don't know whether God exists or not?" And I thought, that's a good question. I thought, how can you possibly teach children about God if you don't know God is real? I thought, yeah, that's a jolly good question that is. And the lecturer stood up and she said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter whether you believe or not." So I looked and I thought, that's a strange thing to say. She said, "Well, what you do is this." She said, "You take a story like that feeding 5,000 and you tell that story one week, and the next week you talk about bread. Another week you talk about flour. Another week you carry on talking about fish, maybe, and so you fill up your time and call it an RE lesson." And I thought, weird. I thought, that's not right. Surely that's not right. If God's real, you should teach children about God. If He's not real, you shouldn't waste their time doing anything else at all. So I thought, no, this isn't right at all. And in my heart, I made a decision that I would find out whether God was real or not. And I was in my final year at that college, and I thought, once I leave this college, I'll be working. And I won't have time to look for God. I won't have time to find out about anything about God then. I'll be too busy working. So I must find out when I'm at college. And so I decided that I would find out from the people who went to church, because we knew who went to church. They were the goody-goodies in our college, you see. We knew who they were. There was only about 8 of them or 10 of them. They went on a special minibus to Kidderminster. And I went up to one of these girls and I said, "Excuse me," I said, "tell me why you go to church. Do you know if God's real?" She said, "Well, I love going to church. You must come." So we go to church with the minister, and he gives us a fantastic tea. And when you go to church, the organist, he's very dishy. So I looked at her and I thought, well, this is very strange. But I went with her, and I had the tea, and I saw the organist, but I didn't find God anywhere at all. So anyway, I carried on, and I thought, well, what else can I do? I've asked the people to go to church, and it's not been very helpful at all. So I met another girl who was doing RE for her main subject at college, and she was visiting lots of different churches. So she said to me, "You're interested in things like this. Why don't you come with me?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come." She said, "I'm going to church in Kidderminster tonight. Come with me." I said, "Okay, I'll come." So we went to this church, and it was a very, very lively church, very exuberant people. They were all singing and clapping and waving tambourines around and everything. I thought, well, this is an interesting church. We just stood there together, me and this other girl, and we thought, oh, this is quite nice. I started to clap with them because I like the music. And suddenly I realised that they were singing about blood. I looked at this girl. I thought, what are they doing singing about blood? And I didn't have a clue about why that Jesus had died for me. I knew nothing about that at all. I just saw that how strange that people would go to church and sing about blood. So the first thing that anyone would do when they're in their 20s is laugh, you see. So me and this girl started to laugh. And immediately these 2 big stern men came along and escorted me out of the church. We were told to leave. So we had between our knees, we had to leave. Anyway, we were very naughty, but we had to go back to college because we'd done the terrible thing, you see. But really, I didn't find God there either. Those people obviously knew about God, but I didn't find God in their church because I was shown the door. The next thing I discovered was that there was a Christian union in the college. And I thought, I'll go to the Christian union. They would surely know about God. So I went to the Christian union, and they were talking basically about morals. They weren't talking about God or Jesus Christ. They talked about morals. And they had a special panel of lecturers mainly who professed to be Christian, and they were on this panel, and they said, if you have any questions, just hand us your question, and if we got time, we'll answer your question. So I wrote them a question. It said, is God real? How do you know he's real? And so they very carefully avoided my question completely, because none of them really knew the answer to that question. But so they carried on talking about morality and things like that, you see. And I was very, very disappointed. I came out that place and I felt very, very sad. I thought, that's Christian Union, it's very strange Christian Union. They don't talk about Jesus or God. They certainly didn't want to answer my question. I was very, very sad. I can remember going back to my room thinking, God will never find out whether you're real or not. Will I have to wait till I die? That'll be too late then. And so then, eventually, I met a Christian lecturer. She was this lecturer in college. She was considered very strange because she had a Bible on it. She used to teach the piano, and she had a Bible on top of the piano. So everyone thought she was a very, very strange woman. And this Bible had a fire on the front of the Bible, you see. And so they thought she was a very strange woman. And I was a bit wary of this woman. But she said, has any of you been to the Christian Union meeting? So I said, I did. It was terrible, disgusting it was. She said, what was disgusting about it? I said, because they didn't answer my question. She said, well, I'll answer your question, she said to me. So I thought, what? Somebody actually will answer my question. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, she said, I'll take you to my church. So she said, I'll pick you up in my car, and drove us to her church, you see. Me and another friend, we went there together. And while I was in that church, I had the most amazing experience of God, which I try and explain to you. I had lots and lots of questions in my heart about God that had been there as long as I can remember, because there was nobody in my family that knew anything about God at all. They never talked about God or anything else. And all these questions in my heart were just there because I had no one to ask them to. And these questions welled up in me as this man spoke. And as the questions came up in my heart, this man who was preaching, I never said a word, but the man who was preaching actually answered those questions. And as he answered them, another question in my heart came up, and he answered that question as well. It was amazing. It really was. It was just like a two-way conversation with God. And it actually shook me to the core. I was sitting there and I was shaking. I was so shocked that God must be real if there's this thing that's happening to me. And anyway, I got back to college, and she gave me a book called Journey into Life, which used to have them downstairs. I don't know if you've still got them, but very fond of that book, Journey into Life, because I was given this. It's a book that explains the gospel, and I read the book. But I looked at it and I thought, no way, I'm not paying this prayer. And I thought, I don't want to become a Christian. I don't want to be religious. I don't want to have to go to church every day, every week. I could never do that. I'm not religious. I just wanted to know if God was real, but it's a little bit, it's not quite that easy, really. And because I was already being drawn in, if you see what I mean. And the following day, the lady came to see me who'd taken me to church. She was the lecturer in the college, you see, and she came and she said to me, well, have you read that book? Oh, yes, I've read the book. It's very nice book. She said, I don't mean that. She said, have you prayed the prayer in the book? I said, no. She said, but do you believe you're a sinner? I said, yes, I do believe I'm a sinner. I said, I'm certainly not perfect. I know that. She said, well, have you asked Jesus into your life? No. I said, why not? She said, because how can I be sure that Jesus died on the cross for me? I said, it sounds good. I said, it's wonderful if it was true, but I've got no idea if it's really true or not. I don't know if he died for me on the cross. And when I said that to her, I don't know if you can understand it, but there was a white wardrobe door in my bedroom in the college, and I could see Jesus, like a picture on that wall. I could see the picture, and Jesus was on that cross. And I was absolutely shocked, and I said, and I just sort of crumbled. I didn't have any more arguments at all because I could see Jesus on that cross, and he was there. You know, it's just an impression that God gave me, and that he wasn't really there. It's an impression in my mind. I could see him, and when I saw that, I just said, Lord Jesus, you must be real. You are real. I can see it. I can't argue with this anymore. And I gave in. Totally gave in to God. I said, okay, God, you take over my life. And nothing special happened then. And I can remember the following morning, I woke up, I thought, I'm a Christian now. I think Christians are meant to pray. But I don't know the first thing about praying. I don't know a thing about it. But I'll try and pray. So I don't know anything about it at all. But anyway, I thought, I had a room to myself at this college, and I thought, first thing you do is you don't let anyone see you praying. So I locked the door, pulled the curtains, nobody could come in, or anything else, you see. So I locked myself in this door, in the room, and started, and I said, God, I am yours, I give my life to you. I don't really know what I'm meant to do next. I've got no idea at all. I don't know anything about it at all. I know nothing. And with that, this marvelous thing happened to me, which doesn't happen to everybody, let me tell you this. I wish it did, but it doesn't. But it was just as if you can imagine yourself on the beach, and you lie on the beach, you can feel the rays of the sun, can't you, the heat coming down on you. But it was just like that, only it was the love. It was God's love just pouring down from heaven. It was an absolutely wonderful experience. And it just burns in your heart, his love. You just know how much he loves me, how much he loves all of us. Not just me, but everyone in the world. And this experience carried on with me for four days. And I smiled like a Cheshire cat. I didn't stop smiling for age, but I think I invited everyone in the college for coffee. And we were witnessing to everybody. In the end, we went through the whole college and witnessed to all of them. I gave them all a gospel tract or something like that. But we went right through the college. Another girl was converted in our block, and she only had a year to live. She had epilepsy. She was about to die. She knew it. And she became Christian as well. So it's God's time for her as well. It's wonderful. And after all that, well, there's lots of things that happened. I can't tell you too much. But let me tell you this verse, which I love. Summarising this testimony with this verse. It's in Jeremiah 29, verse 13. And you shall seek me, and you shall find me, when you shall search for me with all your heart. And you don't do that unless God is working on you and with you. And that's what the wonderful thing is. The praise all goes to God, not to me. Thank you.